Huge news today out of Major League Baseball that I think means the death knell for one team and the end of their season. UFC 248. We've got picks, predictions, and thoughts on this Saturday's upcoming event in Las Vegas. And also, there is one NFL subject that I am so over. Chris and I are going to put it to bed tonight. You found the show that helps you be smarter than your friends when it comes to sports. Let's get it started.
You're tuned in to the hottest sports analysis of the week with your hosts Ron Dolbeck and Chris Roberts. And now, here's the first round.
You found us here on a Wednesday night. You're in the first round with Ron Dahlbeck in the St. Jude studios, joined alongside me, as he is every single week, my co-host, Chris Roberts, talking about everything going on in the world of sports. And Chris, this is like the second time in 6 weeks. It feels like we've been off for a month because there's been so much stuff going on, like personally. And then we've got some other big changes in the show that we're going to be announcing in the next week or two. But it's kind of odd being back here again doing a live show. And we put out a bunch of smaller shows that were, little 10 and 15-minute shows on specific events. But to get back to doing live shows for an hour twice a week, it just seems a little odd.
Yeah, it does, man. It's not you. It's me, too. It feels like we haven't been here like 2 or 3 weeks. And we were just here last week.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Maybe it's not our age, is it?
No, it's not our age. I think we all have been busy, with life. So
right. You're finishing up your master's program, which kudos to you. So, I guess Ray Boom Boom doesn't want to give you a hand on that one. Master's is kind of a big deal. But as always, there's a ton of things going on in the world of sports. We're here to talk about them all. And I'm going to start off with the NFL.
Right.
And I'm going to start off with my favorite team, the New England Patriots. And I'm going to start with the most tired issue, which is, where is Tom Brady going? And I don't even know where to start with tonight, Chris. I mean, you're going to have to help me. It's like, do we talk about the fact that he is at a UNC Syracuse game and he gets caught FaceTiming Mike Vrabel? Or do we talk about the fact that this huge trade rumor now between San Francisco and New England has opened up where they would swap Garoppolo? I mean, what kind of Twilight Zone move would that be to trade Garoppolo straight up for Tom Brady? Or do we talk about the fact that the Boston Herald reports yesterday that Bill Belichick had a live phone call for several minutes with Tom Brady and went absolutely nowhere? I don't even know where to start with it. This is the issue that I'm just so over, don't care. I'm at the point where it's like, when I heard about the trade today, I was like, just do it.
Well, I mean, this is to the point where the writing's on the wall with Tom Brady and New England. I mean, you have a guy who's been there for over 20. He's been there for 20 years. He's been there with the ups and the downs, the injuries.
Is he out?
I think he's out. I think he wants to be somewhere else.
Let's look at it this way. Let's just talk off script here. And I mean, I love the New England Patriots since 1979. I have loved all the Boston teams. I mean, I went through the ML Carr years.
Right.
Okay, that put more gray on my hair than some of my kids.
Right.
Having said that, I'm just so ready for this to be done, man. I mean, the way this has all gotten handled has been like, you would not expect the Patriots or Tom Brady to handle it the way that they have. And I'm just so tired of talking about it. When I heard about like possible straight up trade, because they basically gave Garoppolo to San Francisco for what, a 4th round pick and a bag of chips.
Right.
And there wasn't even really any negotiating with it. When Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, got on the phone before the trade actually happened and were discussing it with Bill Belichick, he's like, look, here's the deal. We want a 4th round pick. We'll give you Jimmy, and that was it. And within 20 minutes, they had signed off on it. And I think this could be you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Right. And if being a Patriot fan, A, I want this whole saga done. B, I have loved, supported, and encouraged, been completely behind everything Tom Brady has done, except he curses too much, in the 20 years he's been there. But C, I'm over it. All the drama and the buildup and everything, it's just so tiring, man. And when I heard about the Garoppolo trade, I was like, oh, yeah, we can get younger, and the contracts are about the same, and the guy already knows the system, and Bill Belichick loves him, and he's already worked with Josh McDaniels. Oh, my gosh, I'm loving that. Let's just do it and turn the page on this thing.
But yet again, a lot of this can also fall on Bill Belichick, too. I mean, if you've watched Bill Belichick over the years,
right,
when these things happen, this just doesn't happen to Bill Belichick. You say you don't want to be there. Bill is like, cool. We're signing off on it. See you later.
Right.
Call it a day.
They get rid of guys a year or two before they're.
Right.
I think of Richard Seymour.
Right. So when you look at this whole situation, again, a lot of that falls back on Belichick and possibly on Robert Kraft, for his love and his affinity for Tom Brady. So I think a lot of that also falls on the Patriots organization as well.
Well, yeah, I don't like how the Patriots have handled it. I would have just said, back up the truck and let's just sign him to a 2-year deal. Whatever he says, let's just sign him. You're going to lose Kyle Van Noy. You're losing, who's the offensive lineman that's they drafted at NC State? I can't even remember. Joe Thuney. Sorry. I mean, I've got so much on my brain right now. But there's some guys you're just not going to be able to keep. Danny Shelton on the defensive line had one of the best years of his career. He's going to be out the door. Here's another funny angle to this that, I don't even want to cover. So Charlie Weiss about 9 million years ago was the OC up there working with the offense and Bill Belichick for the Patriots. He comes out yesterday and says, out of every possible candidate, people on the squad now, Jared Stidham, free agents, anybody out there to run the Patriots offense, who do you think Charlie Weiss said?
Oh, gosh. Charlie Weiss. Oh, man.
Andy Dalton.
What?
He just snatched the words out of my mind. Charlie Weiss came out and said Andy Dalton is the best qualified quarterback right now on this planet to run the New England Patriots. What? Andy Dalton?
He's not better than
I
some of
would
the kids
rather
in the draft.
take anthrax and the coronavirus and put it in a blender and snort it like cocaine than to have Andy Dalton as my quarterback in New England.
He's not better than half of the kids in the draft, so why would I want to
Look, you know the old saying, consider the source? When your teenage daughter is talking, galactically ridiculous stuff and it's all emotions and you just have to realize it's her talking. Charlie Weiss, when was the last time he did anything? So it's coming from Charlie Weiss. But the FaceTiming with, on national TV, you're FaceTiming Mike Vrabel, the head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Well, again, the writing was on the wall with Brady when he didn't resign after the season was over.
I thought that was a glitch.
Well,
that's what I thought.
Not necessarily so. And then you go back and you have Robert Kraft saying, well, I'm going to allow Brady to, enjoy free agency. Why?
Why?
So, it's like
There's this girl that I really love, and I'm completely convinced I should marry her, but I'm letting her play the field. What?
Exactly.
What do you mean you're letting her play the field?
Exactly.
You go slap a ring on that thing, and that's it.
Well, to me, it just shows that the Patriots organization has gotten complacent when it comes down to Tom Brady, thinking that, he's going to come back to us anyway, so we're not really worried about it. And
March 18th is the free agent open door. If he is not signed by them, it's going to be a $13.5 million cap hit that's going to affect them.
Yeah.
I'm just so done with it. I'm, like I said, they had the phone call yesterday, according to the Boston Herald. It didn't go good. I'm ready to just move on. And speaking of moving on, I kind of wanted to touch base with you. What are your thoughts on Jordan Love, Utah State quarterback coming out? I hate comparisons. Oh, he's the next whoever. Jamarcus Russell was the next Zeus coming out of LSU.
Yeah, he looked,
how'd that story end?
He looked like the wrestler Zeus, but no. But
Jordan Love.
Looking at Utah
you take a
State,
shot at him in the top 10?
I wouldn't say the top 10. I think he's a good quarterback. He's a decent quarterback. But, you still have great quarterbacks coming out. You have Tua. You have Burrow.
But those are top 5 guys.
So you have those guys. To me, he's like more of that second tier guy, somebody you can wait around, probably get in the second round. I wouldn't go to the top 10.
Oh, you could get him in the second round, but what if you're the Chargers and they need a quarterback?
Well, if you need a quarterback, then that's fine to go for him. But if I'm the Chargers, I'm looking at getting somebody that could possibly be a bridge person, and I'm not necessarily gonna
Tyrod Taylor's your bridge person right now between Rivers and whoever.
Right. I think he's not going to be.
Is 6 too much of a reach to grab, or you go get the best player available?
I'm going to get the best player available. Because to me, he's one of those guys you can get in the second round.
If you don't, even if you get him, because there's quarterbacks every year. You got Trevor Lawrence coming out next year.
Right.
But even if you don't get him, either way, for Los Angeles, I still haven't gotten past the San Diego Chargers. Either way, though, I mean, it's a chalk up for next season anyway. They're going to be like a free spot on the bingo board. I don't think that they're going to be challenging to go to the AFC Championship, let alone the Super Bowl. So you just ride it out with Tyrod Taylor and hope for the best and then start developing your quarterback. So it kind of seems like with that plan, you're setting everything back a year. Or am I out of my mind?
I mean, you're not out of your mind. I mean, you're setting yourself back a year, but as the GM, what you have to look at too is you have to look at you have to look at your quarterback because that's the most important player on the field,
right?
As far as that position wise, though. But at the same time, you also have to look at what other needs you have, and if you have a player that's going to be that is a first round pick that's going to fulfill a need that you really need, go for that pick. I mean, just take your risk later on. I mean, there's a bunch of quarterbacks in the draft this year. I mean, you got Jake Fromm. He's not he's not a first rounder.
He's not a second rounder.
He's not a first rounder, but he's somebody you could pick up later in the draft. That if you sit him out,
is that the future? Jake Fromm. I don't think he's going to be the future wherever he goes. I think he's going to be a journeyman guy that hangs around for about 5 or 6 years. I don't see that potential there, but I'm not dogging him out. I just don't think that. I've always said about Jake Fromm, he's an effective quarterback. He's not an explosive athlete.
Well, no, he's not an explosive athlete. I mean, Brady's not an explosive athlete either. But what I've seen from Jake Fromm is I just go back to, his freshman year when he took over that team from your guy from Washington. When he took over that team from him. From the quarterback and Jacob Eason. He took over that position from Jacob Eason. He had if he has weapons surrounding him and a running game, he is an effective quarterback. He can get things done.
Well, if I had 2 wheels and a chain, I'd be a bike. I mean, if any quarterback in the NFL has weapons around him and a running back,
but you have to look. But you have to look at what they have in. But I'm about to say San Diego Chargers too.
Yeah, LA. Well, they got Melvin Gordon.
You have Melvin Gordon, so you have a running back.
Right, and they have some weapons on the outside. They got to fix their offensive line.
Exactly.
And they have a pretty solid defense.
Right, so the only thing they're missing is a tight end because, Gates is old and he's retired now. So really, you get him in a situation like that, and you have Tyrod Taylor where he can actually learn the offense and groom under that. I think I think Fromm can actually come in and be an effective quarterback in that for that team.
I don't know. If I'm a GM, I got to build for the future. And in the NFL, it means Super Bowl or nothing. I mean, the goal for every team has to be Super Bowl. And if I don't see a quarterback taking me to the Super Bowl, they can be a backup. He could be a backup. But why am I going to draft a backup in the 3rd round? I got to draft the future because quarterbacks, as we've seen in the Super Bowl, I mean, look at all the Super Bowl winners. They're all Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And the one that won it this year is on track to be having a great career in Patrick Mahomes. Let's keep talking about quarterbacks in the NFL. Bruce Arians comes out with Tampa Bay yesterday and said he is 100% non-committal on Jameis Winston. If I came to you at your job and I said, hey, we're moving from Rochester to Mount Airy, North Carolina. Right. Now, I don't know what this means for your job, but we're 100% non-committal whether we're taking you or not. Okay. What are you going to go home and tell your wife that night? You got full confidence you're going to have a job? No. Jameis Winston's got to be – this is it. I mean, this tells me what I've been saying for the last year and a half, 2 years, is the door is open. They have pushed his bottom as far down the cannon as they can. They have loaded it with gunpowder, and the match has been struck, and now they're just going to ignite it and blow him out of Tampa Bay.
Well, I mean, he probably needs to get out of Tampa Bay. Again – Jameis Winston is a conundrum. I mean,
for Byron Leftwich too. Byron Leftwich has come out and said he's frustrated.
Right. I mean, he's a conundrum because you have somebody who he has the talent,
right?
But he just makes the most
galactically challenging decisions.
You look at these decisions and you're like, what are you
30
doing?
plus interceptions this year, and that doesn't include all his complete turnovers, which would be fumbles.
Exactly.
Can't have that, man. I've said it all year, but I mean, coming out and saying I'm 100% non-committal, why don't you just tell me I'm fired?
Well, again, he doesn't want to necessarily say that too.
Why not?
Because, I mean, we may have to come back and re-sign him if we can't get somebody in.
Yeah, I think they're going to go for Teddy Bridgewater, and I think that's the move with them, don't you? Taysom Hill is out there.
Taysom Hill, yeah. I've seen him run the ball. I haven't necessarily seen him throw the ball effectively in the league. So I mean, because really, when you look at that, it was Bridgewater that was doing it in New Orleans. So definitely.
Here comes Manny. Manny, you want to talk about coronavirus? Manny's over here on the set. I just think that Bridgewater is the move to Tampa Bay. I think you let go of Jameis Winston. He gets picked up and he's a backup. Maybe Jameis would be a good fit in Carolina. I mean, who you got there?
Well, I mean, you have Matt Rule, who is going to be tough. He's going to be.
Yeah, he might not want that problem.
He may not.
I'm rethinking that. There's an open slot there. That doesn't mean that James would be a good fit. I don't think he would be a good fit in Carolina. I wouldn't pick him up if I was a GM. I'm at that point where I've rode the ship long enough. It's been 5 years and it hasn't worked out.
But, I mean, you have to pick him up. Like I said, because I mean the talent is there. He just has to.
He's had 5 years to prove it, though, Chris.
But again, the talent is there. He has the upside to it. It just comes down to him making better decisions, and he has to find the right coach that could drill that in his head.
Yeah, I don't know if that coach is on this planet. Huge news coming out of Italy, which is semi-sports and semi-social commentary right now. The Italian government announced today all sports in the country, all the events are going to be closed. The events will still happen. So we're talking about soccer, championship rugby, all the basketball games that are going on over there. All the events will still take place, but nobody in the stands because of the coronavirus. And we were talking about this before the show with Ray Boom Boom about how, I don't know how serious to take this whole thing, whether it's going to affect the Olympics. I did some research, and my son and I were talking about it last night. Out of every 100 people that get it, the actual virus, the death rate is about 2%. Now, if I'm one of those two, it's super important. Yeah. But those are still lower numbers than SARS. It's just spreading very quickly. And, I mean, when I heard, last week, it was like, well, the first case of it has been tracked in Florida, and now it's up to 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I don't know how much to put behind that. I'm going to be traveling, very possibly in the next couple months. And I'm not sure how much I should be worried about it, but what kind of economic impact is that going to have on Italy when people aren't going to want to travel there because whole towns are shut down? I mean, this is a huge thing.
Yeah, I mean, it is huge. I mean, it's so huge that UF actually went and had their students, their foreign exchange students, actually come home. That's how bad it's been over there.
I remember hearing that.
Yeah, so I mean that's. Yeah, the study abroad students. Yeah, had them come home. I mean, it's so really crazy.
You're not up on campus, are you?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay, so how much of a discussion is this around the students at UF?
I would say it's fairly new. There's nobody been on campus this week because it's been spring break.
Right.
And it's a very kind of upcoming thing. It's been a big deal. My classes, because we haven't been able to get.
You see more people wearing masks?
No.
Right, because that's another thing Riddell and I were talking about. Masks, they've said, doesn't help.
No, it doesn't, because the moisture that you put on it, it allows the germs actually to come in. And so, I mean, a mask doesn't help. It really, just wash your hands, people.
Yeah.
Actually, if you go on Amazon right now, masks are $80 for 10 masks.
That is so crazy.
Shortage.
I don't know. Anyway, Italian government shuts down all the events. The events will still happen. There won't be any attendees there. I mean, that's got to tell you something. They're concerned. And I when something like this happens, I'm like, be more conservative than not.
Yeah.
I swing, to be aggressive towards it because you don't want it taking you out. And speaking of getting taken out, how about UFC 248 this week? I'm actually excited for this.
Me too.
Israel Adesanya against Yoel Romero. I was telling you about this about 3 months ago. I thought this fight was going to happen. It's going to happen this Saturday. I'm excited. You know what? I'm actually going to go out on a limb. I'm taking Yoel Romero in this one.
Really?
Because I think that if Israel is super technical, super athletic, super proficient, but here's my thought. It's kind of like Deontay Wilder. One shot from Yoel. Yoel, we know, can take a punch. I mean, you can hit that guy with a sledgehammer right in his face, and he's going to be like, all right, and I'll take a Long Island with that too.
Right.
He can handle, I think, whatever Israel's going to put at him. If Israel wins, it's going to be on points as a decision thing where he wins by rounds.
Right.
I think that Yoel can win on rounds, and Yoel can knock him into the next decade. I think he's just a super strong guy. He could take a punch and give it. And I know I'm going out on a limb, but if you think about it in the UFC, 40% of the time, the underdog wins. Yeah. And this guy really isn't an underdog. He's built like a brick house. Yoel Romero can punch. He's got good defense. He's not playing around. He's a solid guy. And I'm just going to go with Yoel in this fight.
I'm going to take the champ. I mean, I really like Israel Adesanya as a fighter. I mean, to me, he's definitely one of the best pound for pound fighters. And not only you look at his frame and you think like, okay, this guy doesn't have a punch, but that guy has a wallop with his kicks and punches, his strikes, and not only that, but his ability to just be able to get you down. He can submit you too. And get
Yoel Romero down. That's a big man. It's a big man, but I mean, I think the length in itself. I think the length with Israel's punches and kicks. That's what makes me think he can get him on points.
And I think that's what's going to
Romero
happen.
On points.
Yeah, I think the length is going to come into play.
I can't see him beating him up. And you know what I think? I think it's going to start out with Israel chopping down that tree with those leg kicks and taking out his knees.
Exactly.
Because all the power comes from his legs. I think that's going to be the play with him. I'm really looking forward to that. How about Zhang Wei Li going up against my former favorite female fighter, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who I think has fallen off. She's in her last 5 fights, she's lost 3 of them.
Right.
And I know 2 of those were to Rose Namajunas, but she hasn't fought top flight competition, Joanna, in the last 6 fights, I'd probably say. I mean, I'm looking at, Valentina Shevchenko took her out in 20. She also hasn't been active. In 2018, 2019, she took out Michelle Watterson, 5-round unanimous decision. She got the win there. June of 2018, Tisha Torres, unanimous decision after 3 rounds. The 2 losses to Rose. I just think that Joanna, 1, isn't at the top of her game. 2, she hasn't been active. And I think that's going to cost her because she didn't look good. She hasn't looked good in her last 5 fights.
I know. And, if you know the history with these two, I mean, these two have been jawing for a while now. So I think Zhang she has something to prove, against Jędrzejczyk. And I think she's just going to give her the business because, they've been jawing for a while. And I just... Yeah,
as much as I like Joanna Jędrzejczyk as a fighter, the proof is in the results.
Right.
And it hasn't been there. When you've lost 3 out of your last 5 fights, the writing is on the wall in the UFC, unlike any other sport. If Duke loses, 3 out of their last 5 games going into the ACC tournament or into the national tournament, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's not. But in the UFC, when you start losing back-to-back fights or chunks, like Chuck Liddell, you start losing and the writing's on the wall.
Yeah. Same
with Cowboy right now. 50 fights in, and it's probably over for him.
Yeah, I mean, even if you go back and look at Zane's last fights, though, I mean, she's beaten you in so many different ways. She's won. She had a decision. Mm-hmm. She's submitted it. She's also TKO'd. Her one of her opponents as well. So she could beat you in so many different ways that makes her a dangerous opponent for Jędrzejczyk in that match on Saturday night.
Yeah, I want to see both of these fights. Oh my gosh, I was talking to this guy today about, we were having a discussion about memorabilia, and I've got some old cards, a Ted Williams card and Johnny Unitas card, a Jackie Robinson card, and I was getting rid of some of my older things. And we were talking about what a bad job MLB does with marketing.
Yeah.
And I said, he's like, right now Zion is going through the roof with memorabilia stuff. And I said, I put that alongside with UFC because UFC is the apex predator in marketing. I mean, they put, like I've said 9 million times, they give us the fights that we want against the guys that we want to see fight when those guys are in their prime.
Yeah.
And that's what UFC does better than any other of the 4 major sports. I mean, you want to talk about like NHL being irrelevant?
Yeah.
UFC is showing them this is what you should be doing. And why the NHL isn't marketing, I mean, I don't know. I'm moving on from that. As you can see, I have taken off my Patriots hat, and I'm trying to find hope in the Red Sox, which more huge bad news for the Red Sox. I don't think in the 30-plus years I've been a Red Sox, Celtics, Bruins, and Patriots fan that I have ever seen any one of the teams go through an offseason like I have with the Red Sox this year. The news out of Boston today is they're going for a third opinion on Chris Sale's arm. And the overriding majority thought is that he's probably going to need Tommy John surgery, which means he's going to be in a category with Luis Cervino, starting pitcher for the New York Yankees, and they're both going to be shut down for the season. I think that's where it's going to end up going. But that is terrible news for the Red Sox, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I know your heart's not broken being a Stinkies fan, but...
well, I mean... I always like to see my competitors be at their best when we beat them. So, but as dealing with something like that, a major injury like that, you never want to see a player, anybody, a competitor go down like that.
One of the top 5 pitchers in the American League, if not the majors.
Right. Yeah,
I think so.
So you never want to see one of your competitors go out like that. I mean, even if he does play for the Red Sox.
Let's look at the Red Sox and what's happened with them in this offseason, and we were kind of talking about this before the show too. So Dustin Pedroia is on the 60-day DL.
Yeah.
Alex Cora gets fired.
Mm-hmm.
David Price gets traded. Eduardo Nunez is designated for assignment at 32 when I still think he's an effective guy and a huge fan favorite. Mookie Betts gets traded. They lose Rick Porcello, one of their starting 5, to free agency. He goes to the Mets. And then they don't re-sign Brock Holt, who catches on with Milwaukee and signs with the Brewers. So Pedroia, Cora, Nunez, Holt, Mookie Betts, Dave Price, and Rick Porcello are all gone. They still have an interim manager now in Rick Renicky, which why they haven't brought in Jason Varitek at this point is absolutely beyond me. But have you ever seen, we've both followed sports for a long time. I've never seen a team go through so much in an offseason. Have you? Or is it just me?
No, it's not you. It's
That's a lot to lose.
It's a lot to go through. I mean, not only do you lose, starting pitching, but I mean, basically you use like a core of your offense. And so I'm really starting to figure out, I mean, did they take a pill from the
Baltimore?
The Marlins.
The Marlins? Yeah, they're another one.
They just got rid of everybody. I mean, I don't understand why would they do that. I mean, you got Betts, who was possibly a generational player. You have David Price, who's a good pitcher, good starting pitcher. I mean, you have Chris Sale. I mean, you have all of these pieces here. I mean, you have pieces to actually build on. I don't know what Boston's doing up there.
I think Mookie Betts is the second best player in the majors.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to look and see, what do I have to hold on to as a Red Sox fan this year? Where's the hope? I don't see us making the playoffs. I don't see us even contending for the wild card.
No.
I think we're going to be right around, maybe better than Baltimore. I see us finishing second to last in our division.
Yeah.
And that's so sick.
It really is. I mean, when you look at Boston, I mean, especially recent Boston tradition, I mean, Boston has been that team that actually was able to stick with the Yankees and, actually beat the Yankees.
In the past 10 years, it hasn't even been close.
Right. So, to see them go from, again, the penthouse now to the proverbial outhouse, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. It sucks for me, and I know that people that don't like Boston are going to say, well, you're spoiled because, over the past 20 years, no city has had as many championships. We talk about the Celtics, the multiple trips to the NHL Stanley Cup Finals for the Bruins, the championships with the Patriots. The Celtics have won titles, 17. In the last 20 years, they've won. Hey, I'm just saying. I know I'm spoiled.
I would give you guys the designation of title time for right now. I'll give you.
Oh yeah, no one's even close.
I'll give you that designation right now.
I don't know. Dave Dombrowski, I think, jacked stuff up, and why we didn't sign Brock Holt and why we didn't go out. We should have been aggressive in going out and getting a starting frontline pitcher. Instead, now we're losing Sale. We lost Porcello, who's not a frontline starter anymore. I think he's in his journeyman, twilight year the twilight years of his career. But still, I mean, there's nothing to hang your hat on this year. It's just going to be show up to say you went to Fenway and you took in a Red Sox game and maybe, sit in the Green Monster if you win the lottery, and that's about all the Red Sox fans can hope for. I just think it's sad. But, it happens to every team. Why they're doing it, I don't know. Speaking of good news, if you're a Milwaukee Brewers fan, they signed Christian Yelich, 9 years, $215 million. I think that's a great move because I think he's a great young talent. They're going to have one of the most offensively explosive outfielders in the National League. But I think that division that they're in, they needed to make this move because I think even losing Joe Madden, the Cubs are still going to be competitive.
Yeah.
I think Pittsburgh is going to be right there. So the Brewers are definitely going to be a good team. And then I think St. Louis to me is like a team that doesn't have any superstars, especially after losing Pujols. So many people around Major League. Just in the NL Central, you've got 4 teams there, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, and the Cubs, that could all win that division. And I think this is a good move for Milwaukee, picking up a young guy, even though I'm not a fan of signing guys to 8 and 9 year deals. Yeah. I think this is a good move they had to make.
Yeah, I don't get that with baseball. I don't quite understand. Why would you sign a 8, 9, 10 year deal for $300 million? I don't quite get. I don't quite get it because
how the Angels feeling with Pujols with that.
Exactly.
And A-Rod. You get into that 6, 7, and 8 years, and it's like you're paying them a ton of money. You know, we talked about Jacoby Ellsbury, another one. All that money on the back end of it.
Exactly.
He didn't even play. He's not going to play this year. They got to pay him.
Yeah, talk about diminishing returns, man.
Yeah. What's it, the best availability? What is it?
The best ability is availability.
Right, and these guys are getting, we've talked 9 million times about that matrix where if you are over 33, it doesn't matter what sport you're in, it starts going downhill. Now, I know out there people are going to start screaming about, Drew Brees and Tom Brady and the freaks of nature, but those are the outliners. Those are the exceptions to the rule. That isn't normally what happens. And unless you're Barry Bonds or on some special Balco cream, 33 is the number where, you start seeing the numbers start diminishing.
Yeah, I mean, but even when you have those old players like Drew Brees or Tom Brady, they begin to mold the game to their age or their abilities. I may not have the time to sit back here and throw like a 60-yard pass. So you know what? I'm going to drop like a 50-yard pass and I'm gonna let you do the work, young fella. Yeah. So I mean, those are the things that you have to be able to do as an older player, and that's the same thing happened with Jordan. Same thing with Kobe. Same thing with LeBron right now. LeBron has now kind of gotten to a point where he's going inside now a little bit more, going with a fadeaway jump shot, and that's what happened with older players. They get smarter and get wiser.
Yeah.
So.
Reach us here at the show on Super Chat every Wednesday and Sunday, or you can get hold of the show here with comments or questions, thefirstrd@gmail.com. Also follow us on Twitter at thefirstraund1, the number 1. And we're here every Wednesday and Sunday live in the St. Jude studios here with my host, Chris Roberts, talking about everything going on in the world of sports. Have you watched any of the XFL lately?
I watched a little bit of those games, and
I watched St. Louis and the New York Gladiators. I mean, I don't even know the St. Louis Bombardiers. I mean, I'm just the Battle Hawks or something. I don't know what it is.
Exactly.
They had about 30,000 people in St. Louis for the game 2 weeks ago, and it looks like they're getting decent crowds. I don't know half the players.
Well, yeah.
It's a lesser form of if you have to get a fix. I mean, if you don't want to watch cornhole on ESPN,
exactly, or
the death diving. They had death diving. Have you seen that yet, Ray? We talked about it. He doesn't want to talk. We talked about death diving on ESPN.
Right.
I mean, I can't believe that's on there. How about axe throwing? That's another one that we missed last week. Is the axe throwing championships. But the XFL. How many of you are actually out there are excited about XFL? I mean, is anybody latching on and starting to build loyalty or follow a team? Because at this point, I'm not. It's just, it goes in the bracket of just entertainment. This is something I can watch when there's no good college basketball games on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Right, it's entertaining. I mean, it's kind of interesting. I mean, looking at some of the coaches like looking at Bob Stoops go crazy over what's that guy Landry. The guy who used to play for Pittsburgh, Landry Jones. Go crazy over Landry Jones for throwing interceptions in the game. And it's crazy because they give you so much interaction, so much the fact that you actually hear the referees
locker
actually
room at halftime.
discussing, right? The
Yeah.
referees actually discussing the calls.
Mic'd up coaches in the
Yes.
offensive coordinator box. And
So yeah, I mean that's the only interesting part to the XFL about me is that you actually get the access that you don't get to hear in the NFL game.
do me a favor, tap your knee. Go ahead. Call Manny over there. I don't know what he wants. Call him over there.
Manny.
Go on.
Hey.
I don't know what.
Hey. Yep. Hey, he's blinking his eyes.
I don't know, Manny wants to be on set kinda today. He's 100% non-committal. That's fine. He can stay over here. Yeah, XFL, I haven't gotten into it as far as like getting a team or anything like that. I'm just starting to sniff Premier League soccer.
Okay.
And Manchester United is going to be playing Saturday against Manchester City, which I think is going to be a big game, an important game. I'm going to get into it and I'm going to dip my toe across the pond for a minute and see if I can get into soccer.
Okay.
The whole thing about Premier League soccer, La Liga, any of those leagues out there is you watch it for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And there could be one goal.
Exactly.
And I am spoiled here like every other American where I need action, man. I need hockey. I need, up and down and let's get, and my friend Keith is so into this and other guys that are into it. You know what you always hear? Ron, it's a chess match. It's a game of intelligence. You've got to figure out the other team. And I'm like,
what?
I don't want to sit here for 3 hours and try and figure out what's going on. Put the ball in the net. Let's get some action going.
Exactly. I'm not trying to figure out why you're running.
It's a chess match. That's what I hear.
I'm trying to figure out all these yellow cards, red cards.
Oh, all the fake falls. That's what the
Exactly.
one that really gets me upset is the fake falling. I was actually watching something with Team Bayer and some German league thing today, and the guy fell, and they showed 3 different angles. He didn't even get touched.
I know,
It was
right?
just a dispute for the ball, and it's so crazy.
I'm like, yeah, come on, guy. Yeah, I mean, I personally, I couldn't watch it. I mean, there's no tripping, there's no elbows, no tackling, no nothing. I don't want to watch that.
Well, there is all that stuff, but most of it's fake.
Exactly.
It's mostly fake, and that's why I turned it off. Let's touch on boxing a little bit. A couple weeks ago, Deontay Wilder gets into the ring with Tyson Fury and absolutely gets pummeled for 7 rounds, which should have probably been called after 5. And I thought it was an exciting fight. I thought it was a spotlight fight for Tyson Fury to show how dominant he really is.
Yeah.
And in the clause, before they actually had that rematch 2 weeks ago in Las Vegas, the loser of the fight could request within 30 days a rematch. And we talked the day after that fight about our opinions on Deontay Wilder calling for a rematch or taking a step back, which would have shown some maturity, and say, maybe I ought to rethink this, because out of 19 rounds, I would give him 3, maybe 4 at the most. He has absolutely gotten dominated in... He's been overpowered. He's been outpunched. He's been outboxed. He's been outclassed.
Yeah, I mean,
And so he's picked up the option now to fight him again. When is it? In July?
July, yeah.
My level to see this, as I said a couple weeks ago, is hovering right around 0.
And
I don't want to see that.
Yeah, if I'm Bob Aaron, I'm not going for the money grab with that. I'm pushing that fight back as far as possible as I possibly can. Because I mean, it was so close together. It was so close. You already had it in March, and here it is, July. And not only wasn't like the fight was close.
It wasn't like the first. Well, the first fight was close,
right?
Just because Deontay Wilder knocked down Tyson Fury twice,
right?
But technically, it wasn't that close. I mean, 2 shots. Yeah. In the 6th round of the rematch, the power shots were 58-18.
Yeah. So again, if I'm Bob Arum and I'm looking at this fight, I'm not really wanting to take this fight. I mean, simply for the money. I mean, you have to look at something that people are actually going to want to watch, and I don't think people really want to see around 3 of that so close together.
No, and what I want to see is Tyson Fury taking on Anthony Joshua, who just beat Andy Ruiz Jr. over in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I think that he is at the apex of his career right now, Anthony Joshua, and so is the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. That's the fight that I want to see, but we're not going to see that either because, one, Wilder's picking up the rematch rights, so it's going to be a 3rd fight where he's probably going to get pummeled, and I literally don't have any interest. And then, sadly, Anthony Joshua signs to fight in June this upcoming summer. So now when the fight that, again, this is boxing shooting itself in the head, not even in the foot. They take the gun out of the holster, put it to their head, and blow their skulls off because they're not giving us the fights that we want to see between guys that are at the top of their game. So now we have to put off seeing the real fight that everybody in the boxing world wants to see right now at the heavyweight division, which is Anthony Joshua against Tyson Fury sometime in July or August. I would love to see that fight, but it's not going to happen. And then we're going to have to wait till what? November, December to see that happen? I got to wait a whole year to see that happen. It's so stupid. Why am I doing this? Why are they doing this?
Because it's boxing and it's about getting as much money as you possibly can.
That's the mega fight right now is Anthony Joshua against Tyson Fury. That's if you want the money grab, isn't it? Am I out of my mind? I mean, don't answer that, but I'm not out of my mind, right?
You're not out of your mind, but boxing tries to just extend their money. They don't want to go for that one big money shot at one time. And I think that's their downfall.
Pacquiao. That's all I got to say.
Right, that's their downfall.
Pacquiao is it sums up everything that is wrong in boxing because we had to wait year after year after year. It was just so ridiculous.
Yeah, and that too. And I mean, you have to take some of these managers out of these decision making processes as well. I mean, you have Anthony Joshua's manager that's prolonging fights and pushing things out as well. I mean, if they want to fight, let them fight. Let's get it over with like they used to do back in the day.
I know. That's what I want to have happen right now. I want to see the Fury against Joshua fight. I think that would be huge.
Yeah, it would.
Huge.
It
Bigger
would.
than Wilder.
It really would.
But it's not going to happen. If it does, it's not going to happen at least till what, October or November.
Right.
And now I got to wait for that. So we just got done with the holidays.
Yeah.
And now I got to wait till the holidays start up again to see the fight that I really want to see. Talk about pushing the people that love the sport out of the house. That's exactly what boxing is doing, and there's no good reason for it. That's what makes it even more sick. You're losing your fans because of this carnival of insanity of decision making. It's so stupid. And because of the carnival of insanity with the Patriots and the ridiculousness going on with the Red Sox, I have had to change my hat for the third time in this show. And all I'm going to say is Jason Tatum.
Well, you picked a winner. I mean, hey.
Jason Tatum. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, the kid is good. I mean, you have to give props when the props is there. The kid is good. He's really good.
How good is Danny Ainge?
I mean,
Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball were the talk of that draft, and he enhances the Celtics' position in the draft, then takes the best possible kid.
Well,
he's light years ahead of both those guys combined right now.
Again, you had Lonzo Ball that was full of promotion by Daddy.
Right, and he ruined it for him.
I mean, you had Markelle Fultz who balled out in college, but
hasn't translated.
Injuries has stymied his career.
Mental injuries. He can't shoot the ball.
Well, I mean,
how awesome of a job did Danny Ainge do? In that draft, I mean,
what it boils down to is actually having good scouts to actually scout these players.
I think he is the scout.
And so, I mean, if you have somebody that can actually get out and scout these players and see, exactly what intangibles they have, I mean, then yes, you will find a gem like Jason Tatum that's sitting there and you sitting there just
tons of talent,
rubbing your hands together like thank you.
And good on the court, off the court, doesn't cause problems. Character kid, never hear about contracts and all this other nonsense and partying out in Vegas. I mean, none of that stuff happens. He's just super solid.
Yeah, you ain't hearing about contracts yet because he's still on that rookie contract, but it's coming.
That's okay.
It's coming.
Hey, another discussion I was getting it into with this guy and several other people over the last couple of weeks, especially with the rise of Zion. I mean, Zion.
Yeah,
he is looking so amazing. I saw him out-rebound 4 guys. I don't know if they were playing the Grizzlies or who it was 2 nights ago. He out-rebounded 4 guys and then slammed it home. Yeah. Right now, you got a choice. Luka Doncic to build your team for the next 10 years or Zion.
Oh, that's a tough one, man.
It is, and I'm gonna tell you why it's a tough one to pick Zion for me. Is because the wear and tear on the knees. Yeah. At that much weight, I love these high energy. I can't even actually come up with anything negative to say about either of these guys. But my concern, which is not negativity, is that his knees are going to give out and all that wear and tear is going to be there. And I think that you summed it up great a couple weeks ago when you said, he's like a young Larry Bird, Luka Doncic for Dallas. If you had to pick, though, who would you go with right now?
If right now, just going by the talent alone, all withstanding, I mean, Zion is the number one pick. He's one. He can go 1A or 1B, either or one of these guys is a number one draft.
Yeah, but you got to take one. Make an executive decision.
If I'm making an executive decision right now, if I'm drafting for needs, if I need a big man, I'm going with Zion.
No, you're starting a team today.
If I'm starting a team today, well,
get one of those players. Walk around all the way around the barn. Just walk in the front door.
I'm gonna take Zion. I'm gonna take Zion.
I can't even argue with you.
And the reason that I'm gonna take Zion is because as a big man, this guy is shooting 61%. From 61% people. I mean, from the field. I mean, that's unheard of.
He's almost 40%, isn't he, from 3-point?
40% from 3-point line.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an athlete. He can pass. He can rebound. He plays defense. I mean, he has all of the intangibles.
Yeah, I think these are two of the youngest, brightest stars that the NBA has right now, and marketing the tar out of them. Some card of his went for like $4,500 in the last 2 days. And I don't get into cards anymore. I don't even do memorabilia. I get into more personally owned items and objects of history, not so much cards anymore. What else is going on in the world of sports, Chris?
Well, in the world of sports, we have some heartwarming stories. I mean, the first story that I'm going to go with is the story of Josh Spadell. Josh Spadell was
that was so awesome.
He's a player out of Vermont who, he was one of the top players, a 3-star player coming into Vermont, but unfortunately he was in a car accident which left him with a brain injury, which didn't allow him to actually play basketball. However, for senior night, out of a show of respect for Spadell, the University of Vermont actually allowed him to suit up and play, and he scored his first point in the game last night for senior night. And I think that was so classy of the University of Vermont to allow Josh Spadell to actually get in the game and actually score a bucket. I think that's one of the most classier moves that you'll see out of colleges these days.
That was such an awesome story.
Yeah,
seeing him out at Sports Center, seeing him actually get the layup, and the opposing team's head coach was the first one to come out on the court. Yeah, that was just an A+ story to me.
Yeah, it really was.
What else is going on in the world of sports?
And I was definitely going to give a big shout out to Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson teamed up with Team Reebok to actually give juniors, give parents give them something to kind of relax on as far as paying for college application fees. Allen Iverson and Reebok paid for 409 students college applications, to apply for colleges, to invest in their futures. And not only did he do that, but he also gifted them with a pair of kicks. Big shout out to AI and Reebok for doing that for the kids.
That music can mean only one thing. It is time to thank our support staff. First, I want to thank all of our new subscribers. I want to thank you for joining us here live in the first round. We will be back Sunday with an incredibly entertaining show live right here on the first round. The man on the board, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, the man to my left, as he is every single week, Chris Roberts, El Presidente, Chet 40. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for subscribing. Smash the subscription button and hit the notification button right down here. Check us out every single Wednesday and Sunday. We will be back here live Sunday in the first round talking about everything going on in the world of sports, talking about men's college basketball. If you have to take 5 teams in the tournament or the field, who are you going to pick? We're going to hit that on Sunday. Until then, take care, everybody.